Hey, until winter melts away, we are left to dream and to scheme and plan for gardens in all their glory. We know that zucchini grows good here, zinnias do too, but other trendy garden topics take a fine-tuned green thumb. We're going to help you avoid the pitfalls, but still enjoy growing some unique plants and foods. Horticulturist at the Utah State Extension, Sheriden Hansen, is bringing garden dreams into reality, and she's dressed the part. I love that jumpsuit so much.
Thank you.
You look fabulous. How many disappointed gardeners are you hearing from right now?
Oh my gosh, there's so many, and including myself, but I've had to kind of reframe and say, you know what, this is not the spring I hoped for, but it really is the spring we needed. So lots of water, we definitely needed it, and just shifting that mind frame and saying, I'm gonna plant a little later, it's okay.
We're gonna get there.
We will.
We're gonna get there. Do plants, Sheriden, as we dive into our topic today, dream gardening features, do plants sort of rise and fall in popularity?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen landscapes from the 70s versus the 80s, and then, modern landscapes. It definitely changes over time. We get fixated and then we move on.
Let's work through some of our current fixations, current trends, or dream ideas out there, and you shoot straight for us and tell us what's reality. Vertical gardens in Utah. We're smitten with this idea.
We are, and it's a great idea if you have a small space. So this is this idea where we can have like pockets on a wall or on a fence, or people will run rain gutters and they'll fill with plants, things like that. But there are some caveats to it, things that work and don't work for Utah.
Yeah.
Remember, we're really kind of an anomaly when it comes to gardens. We're high altitude, we're really high temperature, really high sun exposure. So some of these things may not work great for us. So
common issues with the vertical gardens in Utah would be what?
So not enough rooting space. A lot of the times when we're looking at those pockets or those rain gutters, there's not enough space for the roots to develop or to hold water or to hold nutrients. So we're watering a lot more. We have to pay attention very closely to those plants. Other things that we may run into is just that high amount of sunlight and that hot heat beating down on these plants that just don't have access to more resources. So these are things that are going to be more babysat. We're going to move these to different locations in our yard. So, if you're going to do a vertical wall, do it somewhere where it gets morning sun and afternoon shade to give it a respite from the heat and make sure that it has the opportunity to thrive.
So you're not saying can't do, you're just saying be a babysitter and be smart about it.
And adapt, yes.
Okay, all right. And how is vertical gardening different from trellising?
So vertical gardening and trellising are kind of the same thing, but when we think of these vertical gardening walls, we're going up a wall. We're trellising, we're still planted in the ground, but we're using strings or something like that to pull these plants up off the ground. And you can trellis just beautifully in Utah. A lot of the times we run shade fabric to reduce some of the intensity of our sunlight in those situations.
But it's the root factor that is the difference maker.
That's the big difference.
All right, this next one I'm smitten by and mesmerized with, and that's hydrangeas in Utah. You always see someone, right?
Yeah.
That girl through the screen or that neighbor that you know and love that has these beautiful flowering hydrangeas, which I always thought were kind of a no-no for Utah.
Yeah, so they're a little more difficult to grow. They're definitely not a drought-tolerant plant. So when we're thinking about plants and plant selection, it's not something that pops to our mind. And they have some caveats that can make them really difficult to grow in our environment. So our soils are what we call alkaline soils. So if you look at a pH scale, it goes from 0 to 14. 7 in the middle is neutral. Our soils are alkaline, which means we're above 7. Hydrangeas typically like pH that's a little bit lower. And if you buy a blue or a purple hydrangea, you'll notice that the bloom turns pink, and that's because in that high alkaline soil, it can't uptake nutrients, things like aluminum and different things that will help to develop color in the blooms.
Okay, because I have not seen blue hydrangeas in Utah.
They're hard to find in Utah, and that's just because of the nature of our soil. But our water does the same thing, so our water is also alkaline. So you have to either put them in a container and work around the acidity. You're going to be acidifying the soil, doing some different things, or you can select hydrangeas that are much better for Utah climates. And these are the panicle type hydrangeas or the oak leaf hydrangeas. They don't have the big round bloom, that big mop head that we think of. They're more of a pointed bloom, but they're absolutely beautiful, much better adapted to Utah soils. They come in pinks, greens, whites, and they do beautifully. I have oak leaves at my house and just perfect every year.
Has your heart.
Yep.
They are a beautiful shape, and the movement and the, just the fullness they bring to a garden is really rich and lovely. All right, finally, blueberries in Utah. What's this we hear?
Yeah, this is not impossible, but it takes a lot of work to do blueberries in Utah. And this comes back to that idea of this soil acidity and alkalinity. Like I said, we're very alkaline, you know, usually 7.5, 8, 8.5 on that scale. Blueberries like to be somewhere between 4.5 and 5.5, so complete opposite end of the spectrum for us. So you can do it. People do it in barrels, or they'll dig out their soil and replace with peat, and then they have to constantly acidify the soil. And they have to acidify the water because, like I said, our water can also be alkaline.
Yeah, so a lot of work, a lot of babysitting. What do you recommend instead?
So there is a workaround.
Okay.
We have a plant that grows beautifully in Utah called honeyberry. And it doesn't quite look like a blueberry. It's a little more elongated, but it is tasting like a blueberry. It has an antioxidant load similar to a blueberry, and it will give you that blueberry flavor without having to do so much work. It's in the honeysuckle family. They grow beautifully. They have beautiful bloom, attract our native bees, and great workaround.
See, we're not saying no. We're just saying be smart about it, and Sheriden is helping us do that as we kind of delay our gardening season, but look forward to what is ahead. Before we say goodbye, Sheriden, tell us about the resources and activities of the Botanical Garden.
We have so many things, and spring has sprung. Our blooms are coming, our bulbs are up, so come and visit us. You can find our classes at usu.botanicalcenter.org. We have so many classes and things that we would love to teach you about gardening in Utah.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.